we're going to get started. We start with the disclaimer that we have to do on every event. I need to leave this up for 30 seconds. So the first part of this class is going to seem kind of a little bit negative because I'm going to be throwing some information at you on things that I found in my research. Let me see. Julie, you may need to remute yourself.
Sorry.
It's okay. And so don't be overwhelmed by what you hear, because it was overwhelming for me as I was putting this stuff together and the stuff I was reading, but I actually learned some really neat things. I have had cats in the past, but not for a long time, not since I left Texas. And I learned some things on cat health that I did not know before. So it was interesting. And Marissa, you can chime in on this. I saw you come in a minute ago. Chime in on this on things that you might remember that I wasn't paying attention to when you and Julie and all of us were at the animal thing in Chicago. So as we get into this, there's a lot of things, a lot of factors we can't control in our lives and our animals, but there's a lot of stuff that we can control, and that's what we want. So if you are listening to this and you start feeling overwhelmed, don't. I've got some good information, some things that we learned several years ago kind of came back up. And then, like I said, some new things. Maintenance now for ourselves and animals is higher than ever before because our toxic burden is so much higher than it's ever been before. If we are not being preventative, we're opening the door to sickness for us and our animals. Okay, so that's been up long enough. Let me get to my next slide. There we go. So this is a litter of puppies that I just had, standard poodle puppies. I have had 2 litters in the last year, and I used oils and just a lot of Sovereign Silver, a lot of things that I've used for years. I use those with my puppies from birth. And I learned a lot when we went to the animal conference, but I had already been using oils. So I just want to share a real quick testimony about, okay, Shelly, you cannot hear me? I'm not muted. Can everybody else hear me okay? Julie, give me a thumbs at you. Okay, Meredith. I mean, other than turn your volume up, everybody else has got sound, so it must be on your end. Okay, so I had a dog named Jack. We bought him in 2003. He was a wire fox terrier, and probably Marley was probably 5, because I was still in Texas. It was before we moved here to Florida. We used the vet clinic there in Alvarado, and they diagnosed him with cancer and said that he, with treatment, could probably live to be about 6 to 8 years old. And I just am very conservative on what I do with my animals, but I wasn't going to do the chemotherapy or anything like that with my dog. So I made some diet modifications, did some different crunchy things, herbs and things. This was way before I got into essential oils. But one of the things I started doing was feeding him more raw foods, more vegetables, apples. He loved apples. He loved carrots. And I noticed his seizures that he was having and his tremors started to decline. And he had these big, kind of like what I would have called a fatty tumor. Had we not gone to the vet, they started going away. And eventually they were all gone until he got quite a bit older. So they gave his prognosis 6 to 8 years max, like I said, with treatment, with us intervening. He lived a month away from being 15 years old. That dog and I had a love-hate relationship. But when I got into oils, I used oils on him when he got older. I would do with a raindrop on him. I would put oils on him for when he was hurting. Everything I did with him was holistic and natural. And I would see, like after I would do a raindrop, he was deaf, blind, and couldn't get around very good. I could do a raindrop on him, and for 2 weeks he acted 5 years younger. And he followed me up until the day he died. He would follow me out to the chickens. He could see shapes and shadows, but he couldn't really see very well. And my yard guy used to laugh because he would come over here and he would poke him with a stick to get him to get up and move, because he could run right up on him with that mower and Jack wouldn't even move. But I could do the oils on him and you could just see a difference in his mobility, his attitude, his appetite would all increase. So I'm a big believer in using oils, and I'll give you some dilution remedies, but I've been doing that. I guess I started using them probably 10 years ago. I was in it for a year or so before I ever put them on the dogs. And then my kids. So, oops. So Michael Dim, who's a veterinarian, I want to read this quote that I found from him. He talks about the breakdown in our pet's immune system. He says, over the past 40 years and 17 generations of dogs and cats, we're seeing tremendous increases in chronic ill health. And he talks about how it was super rare back in the 1960s. And now most of these illnesses resolve around their breakdown. They include chronic skin and ear allergies, which I've dealt with ear allergies with one of my poodles, digestive upset, thyroid, adrenal, pancreatic disorders, seizures, gum, Jack had seizures, gum and teeth problems, degenerative arthritis, kidney liver failure, and cancer across all ages and breeds. He also talks about, and this was something I found very interesting, that we're seeing a record number of behavioral and emotional disorders and alarming and unexplained fears and aggression in animals like we've never seen before. He says difficulty focusing, training, and paying attention. And he said the analogy of these compared with the escalating immune behavioral issues that we're seeing in children is very alarming to him. And that really got my attention. And so as I was putting this information together, the correlation, you just couldn't miss it. But he talks about multiple issues with over vaccinating our animals, poor nutrition, and then toxic filled commercial pet food. And so, like I said, control what you can. And I'm gonna give you some good things on stopping the issues and managing the health of your dogs better. The current average for one vet visit is $180. The average annual vet bill for one dog, $395, and the average cat is $244. So when I went, I've been calling around trying to find somebody to neuter this cat that a friend pawned off on, is now a member of our family. $300. I was floored. I mean, when I used to neuter my barn cats, it's $45 at the vet in Texas. And I hung up the phone thinking there's no way that I'm paying, $300 to neuter a cat. Average annual, I may have already said this, for people with more than one dog, Julie, you can attest to this, Marissa, you probably too, $1,000. Now I know that Julie's is probably higher than that because she has horses, cats, and dogs. And I've been around her when she does. But when our pets get sick, there's a good chance that it's something interfering with their natural defenses. Self-healing, the key to that is a strong immune system, both in us and our animals. And while antibiotics may fight whatever we're addressing at the moment, they're not going to improve your immune system that failed to prevent whatever issue you're dealing with in the first place. And since our pets don't have a voice, we will have to learn to become their advocates. Advocacy means to change what is into what should be. And it's not about, we just need to take responsibility for these creatures that we bring into our families. Yes, just like humans, April. And so one of the things that I want to preface too is there is always going to be a time to seek medical attention, not just with yourself, but also to see a vet. I very rarely take my dogs to a vet, but I have been doing this long enough that I know when. And so I kind of put this together because a lot of people take it as, Candace, I was wondering about her. Yeah. So see, she's saying she paid $200 and they said they can't do anything. And it's probably because it's already got blood flow to it. But if you get to the point, like with Jack, you get to the point where it's time to do something. Jack would have passed probably on his own, but I went ahead and took him to the vet and put him to sleep the day he probably would have died that day. But he had a tumor come in through the top of his mouth that I noticed for a couple of days, he wasn't able to shut his mouth. And so I opened his up and looked in there, and that thing was growing so rapidly. And I could not let that dog, I'm gonna get emotional. He's been gone for a while, choke. And that's what was going to happen. He was going to get to the point where he couldn't swallow or he couldn't breathe. And I just couldn't think of a worse way for him to pass away. So I told my kids, I took him to the vet, and that little turd bit the fire out of me the day. I mean, all they did is give him a shot just to relax, and he was gone. They went ahead and, followed through with all they had to do, but he bit the fire out of me, and then he was gone. And she's like, we're going to leave you alone and you can stay in this room as long as you want. I bawled so hard I bet I was in that room 45 minutes. Like I said, he and I had a special relationship. He caused me a lot of aggravation, but I love that dog. And so I knew it was time for me to do. People ask me all the time, well, how do you know when to put your dog down? Or how do you know when to go to the vet? Trust your instincts. If you feel completely out of your element, or that it's an obvious distress, definitely go to the, I don't know how my light's blinking. Can y'all see that? That's going to bug me. I'm going to have to turn it off. So anyway, that's when you need to take the dog to the vet. So, and yeah, raindrops, Candace, you know how to do it, and same order. And on her, so like Jack, I would do 1 to 2 drops. I'd do 2 if he was in a lot of pain, but with her size, you could probably do 2. And you can, if she has like an aversion to them, then dilute, like Leola and Jack, I can do straight on them. Leola probably weighs close to what Izzy weighs. And when she was in distress, I think I even did like 3 drops on her. And Julie, do you and Marissa remember when we watched that raindrop on that bigger dog? Do you remember how many did she do? She did 3 on that dog, didn't she? 3 drops?
It was 3.
Yeah. So age appropriate. Yeah. So you could probably do that. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but I'm sorry. And so pet food, this is probably my biggest takeaway from the animal conference we went to in Chicago. And pet food, you see all these pet foods for sale in veterinary offices now that they didn't really used to do back in the day, when I was in and out of vet's office. But it's become a big deal now because it's a big money. They've made it, incentivized it for veterinary clinics to carry and sell all this vet food. I found a lot of articles and blogs online. Don't make your own dog food. Your dog's not get all the nutrients it needs. I completely disagree with that. Planet Paws that guy spoke at the animal conference. He's got there's a lot of really good recipes and simple formulations. They can make it complicated, but it's really not that hard to feed your dogs raw food. What we've been doing for a while now, just because of our schedule, I feed a synthetic free kibble. Only 4 or 5. There's only 4 or 5 different companies that I found that have really good synthetic free kibble. One of them we have right now, my dogs don't really like it. But I can put some links on or send them to you afterwards of what I found. But the feeding exclusive dry food it's just like canned food. It has 0 life. So you're going to want to increase their enzymes. I think Rodney said in his presentation, you can increase the lifespan and health of your dog by like 70% just giving them raw vegetables, carrots, peas, green beans. I mean, my dogs will eat cabbage. My dog, she ate an onion yesterday. They'll eat pretty much anything, cauliflower. I mean, anything like that, they'll eat it. I also will rotate raw meat in and out on top of theirs. Raw eggs. I will do raw eggs. Sometimes I'll lightly cook where it's still pretty runny an egg, and my dogs like that. But in 2007 there was a huge recall on pet food, massive. I mean, there have been several since then, but this was the biggest one. Over 5,600 pet food items were recalled. 4,600 animals died that were reported. Over 14,000 pets were injured, and anywhere from kidney failure to chronic disease. I mean, those are major injuries, not even the minor ones that were reported. And so when we're talking about accumulated toxins, this is going to be a big one for your dogs. A lot of people don't want to spend a lot of money on dog food. And I do remember very clearly Rodney saying, buy what you can, but even just adding the raw vegetables and things to their food, or blanch some frozen and give it to them, is going to increase the health benefits of whatever you're feeding your dogs. So I want to put that in there. This is something that I did learn from cats and dogs too on the packaging. And so you look at some of I just kind of picked the top ones on here. There's the synthetic vitamins are a big deal. So you want to make something that doesn't have synthetic additives and colors. But you want to look at ones with have natural preservatives like vitamin E. I've already talked about the veggies, but the PFCs from the food, the coating in the bags, I had not ever heard or read that before. The majority, so if it has a shiny bag, don't buy it. That is a huge, they're finding that in over 50% of the dogs' urine and blood samples and 96% of cats. And that's a big carcinogen to your animals. And so you want to seek out pet foods that don't have that. It's also found the BPAs are found in tins of dogs and cat food. A lot of vets are recommending that you feed if you don't want to give them, some raw meat and different things like that to feed canned food. But then you got to worry about the BPA and the stuff like that in the tin cans. So they're saying, look for holistic canned cat food. Well, okay, that's like $1. I don't know what it is. When I looked at one, it was like $1.10 a can. Well, that's crazy. I mean, I can buy a pound of chicken and, sparse it up and feed it to her. But especially with your cats and dogs doing stuff like that, look at ways that are going to make it affordable. So right now, it is more common to see cancer in cats and dogs under 5 years of age, and autoimmune diseases than ever before. The leading, where did I put that? The leading cause of death in dogs under 7 right now is cancer. And that's crazy. When you think overall, dogs are typically healthier than we are. But that's the number one cause of death. Let me see, make sure I don't have anything else in here. Does anybody have any questions? Because I lost my place. Okay, never mind, I found it. Sweet potatoes, yes, good to add staple to their food. And sweet potatoes are also anti-parasitic, if I remember, isn't it? Aren't they good for I know they're good for the minerals, but somebody was telling me that they were good to give dogs that had parasites. Steamed broccoli. Yeah, my dogs love broccoli. Yep, food is the first thing. I agree, Marissa. Okay, so I've kind of talked on this just a minute, but one of the things I found out, this is what I learned about cats. Marissa, I want to see if you've heard this, but that dry cat food is a leading cause of issues with cats and their leukemia, their cancer, and their urinary issues. And I didn't know that. That was kind of a surprise to me. And then I want to talk too about, it says the reason they suggest canned food is because it's hard to do canned food without animal proteins not being the main ingredient. That's why they're saying if it's easier to do the canned cat food over the, the dry kibble. So if you're going to supplement your animals, and I know a lot of people will do pretty much anything that you can give humans, you can give dogs, except for like Tylenol. Don't ever give a dog or any animal or kid Tylenol, in my opinion. But you can do it by weight. Sorry, that's non-compliant. Julie's laughing. Most supplements are dosed for a 150-pound person. And so you can kind of titrate that to your dog's weight. Cats, 1/6 to 1/8 of a dosage of supplements that are designed for humans. So way lower on your cats, and they metabolize things different. Omega fatty acids are super important. A great inexpensive thing that you can add to your dogs is ground flaxseed. Cats can't metabolize that, but you can do 1 teaspoon per cup of your dog food. So like Leola's 50-pound, she eats about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of dog food. So I would give her 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons of ground flaxseed. If you need to give omegas to cats, you can do a liquid supplement, fish oil, primrose oil, something like that. A good, good omega supplement. So those are some different things. I put this kind of slide, kind of put this stuff out there, but ultimately the best pet food that you can make is making it at home, but that's hard. I mean, Candace, I know she went through that. She's got 3 large dogs, and she and I kind of started making our own dog food about the same time and keeping weight on her boxers, who are hard to keep weight on anyway. They're super active, was hard. And they were acting like they were hungry all the time. So was Leola. And that's one of the reasons that I switched back to a synthetic free kibble as my base, and then just mix everything out. And I'll make stews or ground food and rotate it in and out with the others. So Candace says she feeds her dogs raw chicken. Oh, and I do raw chicken with bone. I give mine bone and all. Peas, potatoes, carrots, any kind of meat you can get for a good price. I'm the same way. And now she says she's back to feeding raw, and the boxers are keeping their weight, and her dogs are beautiful. And she does the bone in as well. So they can cook bones, they can't eat. And they run the risk of splintering and perforation, but raw bones are really good for them. Their bodies can digest them. Now, there was always, Marissa, correct me if I'm wrong, people always said back in the day that you can feed cats, cooked chicken with chicken bone in it. I've never done that. We just actually started feeding our cat some raw meat, and he loves it. And if we're in the kitchen, he's following us around like, wait, feed me. He's annoying. But I can already tell a difference just in his attitude. No cooked, she says. So raw chicken and bones and stuff also for the cats. So yeah, I didn't know that, and I forgot to look it up. So I think I've covered everything on that. Raw bone meat for our animals. Sadie's saying dogs and cats, most of that meat is raised here on the farm. That's excellent. That's awesome. If I could do raw meat here or raise that at my house, I would, but I'm already kind of probably pushing it with some of the amount of chickens I have. So I'm going to move forward past the food. I think we kind of got the gist of that, but this is something. Now, I have very few toxins in my home, but my dog, I want to go outside too. I want to talk about people who are putting weed killer and pesticides and that kind of stuff down, because one of the things and this was kind of another interesting thing I learned, is wiping your dog's paws and their fur down, or their hair, when they come in, reduces their allergy issues by like 70-80%. And so I was talking to another lady, and I thought that would be a good thing to, make your own wipes. I mean, seedling wipes, I love those, but I'm not going to put them on my dog. I mean, I love my dog, but I'll just make some and put some lavender and stuff like that in them. But wiping them down actually reduces their allergies and what they bring in the home that might be upsetting people if you have sensitivities to outside environments. But they also absorb through their pads and their skin. So they go out there and lay down and get that. So they're bringing that stuff in, and they're absorbing any toxins that they get outside. And so that's going to be something to consider. And I've got a couple of things that we've started doing the last few years outside. And so I don't have any toxins outside either. Let's see. Yes. So she's saying if you cook the food and stuff, you get all the nutrients and stuff out of it. Same for people. So basically, you can take this advice too and kind of apply it to yourself. So our pets, just like us, have a very complex immune system that is designed and created to fight disease, just as we do. Outside of, occasional problems, mostly due to toxicity, most dogs and cats are healthier than their owners. But when they do get sick, it's usually something that's interfering like this with their immune system. And I've already said that about antibiotics. Okay. This is where it's like talking about the 20 times what they're finding in the dogs. So a good way to eliminate is, obviously for us and any of y'all that do Young Living, Thieves Household Cleaner, completely non-toxic. It's not going to hurt your dogs, your cats, your birds. I use it in my chicken coop. I do use oils around and on my chickens. But that is a phenomenal, clean everything you can in there, and you're not going to risk any hurting your animals. So Julie says, if you can add organ meats to their diet. Yes. And there's some charts online too about adding that in. My dogs hate liver. I was shocked. I figured they would eat anything. They don't like liver. And she's saying that could be really good. Usually get a whole organic chicken, feed them the organs. Now, I don't cook the chicken. Do you cook yours when you feed it to Jackson and them?
I do because I usually split the chicken with him and I eat it a couple days too. So
Well, yeah, now I would make him bone broth like on the whole chicken, definitely. And you can buy chicken feet super cheap, like a bag of chicken feet to make your bone broth and share that with your animals too. Um, the I think I've already kind of covered everything on this, but yeah, the as far as the toxicity too, no, I lost my train of thought about what was I saying before I read that? Well, it'll come to me. So these are the most alarming ones. One of the things that I did find was the flea collars and the tick and flea medicine, the dangers there. And the FDA actually had set a alert to the US FDA, alerted veterinarians and pet owners to beware of the potential neurologic adverse events associated with oral and topical flea and tick medication. I get asked a lot about fleas. Now we had an infestation one time several years ago, and I used I think it was Capstar, something that killed them instantly, because I had let a friend keep one of my dogs. I had to leave town, came back, and I mean, literally, like she was covered, and I didn't want him in the house or anything else. So I did do that. And then I went to bathing her with Thieves dish soap and putting oils in soap. I've used diatomaceous earth, and I use lime a lot outside, which I've got a coupon for anybody that wants to try that, which is super cheap and an easy way to do outside pest control. But over 50% of Americans use flea and tick control products, not ever thinking, not only that, if you've got like the collars or you're doing the drops on them and then you're petting them, you're also absorbing that through your skin. And so if it's a neurotoxin to dogs, it's also a neurotoxin to yourself and your kids. So after the approval of some of these things that were released a few years ago, they had some alarming adverse reactions, muscle tremors, coordination issues, seizures. And so and they didn't change the formula, but they changed the labeling, which I thought that was shocking. I was floored that was doing. But they're saying, according to the EPA, 50% of all illnesses, human and animals, can be attributed to those kind of toxins, cleaning products, bleach, ammonia, fertilizers, herbicides, insecticides that we apply to our lawn and gardens. And then you also have to think you've got dogs that are licking themselves, and my dogs do. But so you're putting stuff out there and they're licking it off. So they're not only getting it through their skin, but they're also ingesting it. Yeah, I've done. Sadie says her dogs enjoy frozen chicken feet, and my dogs do too. That's a big treat for them. I think that's great. So this was one of the things that I've started using this earlier, probably last spring, and I really like it. So I contacted them and asked them for a discount code. So they gave me the Healthy Home. I put this down once a month. We haven't put it down yet this month. I put it inside my garage and all around the perimeter of my house. I put it in my chicken boxes. I put it in my chicken coop. I put it around my garden plants, not on the plant itself, but like around the bases of my beds and stuff. And it has been phenomenal. Now I will put DE in my chicken's feed. I'll put, and sometimes I'll put that on the dogs and stuff like this, but I really like this line. Now you can probably get it other places or, feed stores, stuff like that. I'm big on if I don't have to go to one more place, I'm great. I think my order is like $15. I have it delivered every 60 days. It might be 20. And that bag will last me a couple of months. And I do, like I said, we're on right at an acre, but we do the perimeter, and I do the perimeter all around. At night, we would have roaches all in the bottom of the chicken coop and stuff. And so I put it around the chicken coop, in my storage shed out there, and we haven't seen any. If I let it sit for a long time, like if I skip a month, they'll come back. So once a month has been really effective at getting rid of some of the pests and stuff. Okay, so I'm going to move on. I know, and if I'm going too fast or you have questions, let me know. But I loved finding this quote from AKC. Preliminary research suggests that using essential oils may provide some health benefits for dogs and humans, and many holistic veterinarians incorporate essential oils into their practice. They may be used to address a variety of health issues such as flea and tick prevention, skin issues, and behavior problems like anxiety. So I can attest to that. That has been a big staple for us for quite a while now. However, when you get on Google and you start looking up essential oils in dogs, be prepared for all the negative. Just like when you start looking at raw diets, when you start looking at anything, there's going to be people out there, people who are paid to put stuff out there, but bad news and fear travels faster than anything. And so, and I just want to illustrate this, and I know probably any of y'all have seen this. There was a warning to cats and dogs about using oils or diffusing oils is going to kill all your loved ones, kill your animals, particularly cats. So it had all this, I mean, it blew up. It still recirculates. And I think the first time it came out was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And it was, it created some undue panic and concern, especially we have a fairly large wellness group and a lot of cat owners. And back then I wasn't even a cat owner. And so people were really concerned about, oh my word, I diffuse all the time. Okay. Diffusing is like the safest way to expose animals. My cat loves my diffuser. And I know there are several people in my group say the same thing. That picture I took right there's a diffuser running right beside me. And he will come and sit in my lap when I've got a diffuser running, and in my room too. And then when I had the puppies out there with their diffuser, he would get up underneath, like I had a table and then I had one of those storage tubs underneath. He would get underneath that and just sit there, and that mist would come down on he and the puppies, and he'd hang out there with them all the time. He really, and I would diffuse thieves and orange or frankincense regularly over those pups, and he was always out there. So even though inhalation and diffusion is considered the safest, it doesn't mean that you can't do topical. And I've got some dilution ratios and stuff I'm going to show you here in a minute. But take a little time to learn it. Don't be afraid of it. And just be a detective with your animals, your kids, just kind of like the same way if you've been using oils or, doing holistic supplements or any kind of modalities. You learn a little bit about what you're doing, and you just kind of tip your toe, and you don't jump on and put 15 oils on yourself or your animals. Sadie says, so many people freak out about me using essential oil. Yeah, about your pets. Yeah. And the junk, and let's be clear. Thank you for saying that, Sadie. She's talking about the junk oils from Walmart and such. So you don't want to eliminate toxins from your house. Go to Walmart and Target and buy some cheap, toxic, crappy oil, and even run that in your diffuser, because you're basically just trading one for another. And I've had, like I said, I've had huge success using oils on my animals so far. So there's a big myth. Oh, let me change slides. Sorry. There you go. So these are some of the things that, and this is a small list, but these are some of the things that I've personally used on my animals. I pulled this out of one of my books, and I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to put anything on there that I haven't done. Well, I've done all of it. I've addressed all of this at one point or another with some of my animals or my animals. But the big myth and the thing that we're taught to believe is when they say this medication, whether it be whatever blank, fill in the blank, has few side effects, your pet will be fine. And this is often wrong. A lot of times the side effects are worse than what you're addressing. I know, and this comes from Dr. Jones. He put these things in one of my vet books I've got. He's seen many dogs develop ulcers, liver disease from anti-inflammatories, cases of diabetes, vomiting, and diarrhea for steroid use to stop the itching of allergies. Cats develop kidney failure from safe pain relievers, and numerous reactions to injections, including vaccine-induced cancers. And that was some of the stuff. That's what, if you want to do a little research, Google some of the congressional hearings of the vets on the vaccine regulations for animals. It's actually very interesting to listen to. So what we're talking about here is being a prevention and proactive approach, which is key with our animals, just like it is with us. High quality nutrition, your supplements, therapeutic grade oils, obviously. And y'all know I'm all Young Living all the way. Um, Play, exercise. The thing I love about animals, I had a lady whose doctor told her to get all the animals out of her house because they were weakening and making her sick. And she called me, she pawned them off on a friend. She called me in tears, so depressed. And she said, he said that they're making me worse because of the things they're bringing into my house. We kind of talked about things she could do to kind of clean up her dogs. The thing about animals, the connection they have you, they help you live in the present moment. They actually raise your frequency. When you're sick or depressed, your frequency of your body's lower. Animals raise that. I mean, cats don't live, they don't live anybody, I don't think. Sorry, Marissa. But dogs, I mean, they unconditionally love you. They're so excited to see you. My cat's only excited to see me when I'm hungry, when he's hungry. But my dog, she like is crazy when I come in. If I've been gone half the day, then she acts like she hadn't seen me in 6 months. And the other day I came home, I was tired, was kind of grouchy, and I had my hands full, and she just kept dancing around on my floor, around my feet, on the floor, and started talking at me. And I was like, oh, she just wants my attention. And so I set my stuff down, I started petting her. And within 30 seconds, I realized I was happier. And I came in and I wasn't very happy. So Sadie says only 3 of her cats don't like anyone. Exactly. That's cats. I mean, they only want it on their terms. But so I encouraged her, get your animals back. Within a week, she called me back and said, I am feeling so much better. Thank you. And so you have to realize the impact that they have on us. They take us into the present moment and take our attention off ourselves or things that are bad. So there's a lot of really good benefits to having animals in the house. I don't know why I got on that rabbit trail. Oh, because it says emotional health. But all right, let's get on. I'll get into a rabbit trail if y'all don't keep me in line. So let's talk about safety real quick before we move on, because I don't want to drag out. I'm already running a little bit behind. So dilution is key. And the thing about dilution, a lot of people think, well, if I dilute, it's going to make it weaker and you're not going to have as good a result. So just like with kids and people, when you dilute, it slows down the absorption. You're still getting the potency of the oil, but it slows down the absorption. So it actually, in some cases, will make it more beneficial to yourself or the animals. Diffusing automatically solves any dilution issue. So you can always diffuse. You just want to give them a way out, or diffuse in a big room, and they will leave the room if they've had too much. Low doses to start, gradual better, moderation, and then go up as you need. Again, quality matters. Understand your pet's health. If it's pregnant, I used oils all through Leola's, my black poodle, but through both her pregnancies, used oils on her, diffused, no issues. I actually really ramped up her immune support the whole time she was pregnant, the whole time she was nursing, oils, supplements, everything. And then when you apply them topically, to whether it's their feathers like my chickens, their hair, their fur, that acts as a wick and takes it in. So when you use a dilution or an oil and you're putting it on them, they're not just going to inhale it, but it's also going to wick it into their body. Well, change. Sorry, there it goes. Okay, so this is a dilution guide that I took out of one of the books. This is probably my favorite one because it explains it. Y'all can screenshot this. If you have trouble with getting it, I can email you a copy, or there'll be a copy in the recording when I send this to you. But biology teaches us to apply moderation in all that we do, starting with oils, low and slow, until you're confident in what you're doing. This is the best way to get started using them with your animals. So this is a good dilution guide, especially with cats. Doing low dose, I think, is always going to be better with cats, because you want to see how they're going to tolerate. Leola, I will lay oils out on the floor, and she'll tell me which ones she doesn't like and which one she does. 9 times out of 10, Valor's her first pick. She likes frankincense, but the thing that surprised me, the one that she has picked every single time, is oregano. And that always surprised me. I mean, she'll pick it up and carry it around in her mouth. And oregano, I don't know if y'all have ever tasted oregano. It's strong and it doesn't taste that good, but she loves oregano, and she doesn't mind the raindrop. If I do raindrops here at the house, or I bring bedding home, if I've done them up at the chiropractor's office and I've got the bedding and I lay it down, and Jack did this too, she'll go lay on that stuff until I wash it. She's drawn to the raindrop. So I don't know what Melinda's body butters are, Nancy. So it's just, oh, Melinda, my sister, duh, sorry. I'm a little slow. Yeah, my sister makes a lot of good things for you to put on, and mixtures and stuff. Sorry, I just saw that. So oils can also be added to their shampoo or salve, like animal scents, coconut oil, the V6, anything like that. Animal scents, I actually use probably animal scents more on myself than I do my dogs. You can add to a water dish, which I don't typically. And if you do, just put another one beside it. Copaiba, the dogs don't mind that, but I don't typically put oils in water because it's going to float on the top. But one of the things that I did when we had Nellie and she was in discomfort, my brother's dog was living here for a while, is I would do warm water on a rag, and I would put oils on that rag, and I would do it like a compress or wipe her down with them just to kind of dilute it. And she really liked that. She didn't really like me putting oils on her directly, but if I put it on a rag and wiped her down, she liked that. And especially if you have an older dog that has like arthritis or stiff joints, or like they're down in their hips, getting up and down, compresses are a phenomenal way to do. You can take a little coconut oil or castor oil and add some essential oils to it. Put them on a wet cloth, or rub them on your hands and the dog, and then put a wet cloth on top of them. And it's a driver, and that warmth will help drive them in and help them feel better. You can add them to a fatty oil supplement. I have done that with coconut oil, and let them just lick it off the spoon or out of your hand. Trying to think any other. Oh, you can spray, like mix a spray with, I use vodka a lot, or Everclear, and I'll put the oils in the dispersant, Everclear, witch hazel, whatever I use. I typically try to use vodka and stuff with the dogs. I'll put the oils in it, and then I'll top it off with distilled water. Especially if you have older dogs. Older dogs start to smell regularly. Like I think Candace, you said something about Izzy one time smelling a little bit, and Jack was really bad. I could add the last year of his life, he didn't smell good at all. And so I would do digest sometimes, or purification, or what was another one I used that really helped with him? I can't remember. There was another, was it stress away? I don't remember anyway, but I would mix that, and I would do a spray. It was stress away, and I would spray him. And not only did it calmed him down, and you could tell when you're tense or you're hurting, you tense up. And so I would spray him down with those oils, and he would relax and sleep. So he would feel a lot better. He did not like lavender. It was funny. There were a lot of oils he liked, but he did not like lavender, but I could put peace and calming, stress away, and stuff like that on him, and he always did very well. Okay, so let me change this. So here's another guide that I have. Joy, lavender, and purification for the bloodhounds. So ratio of vodka, water, oil. Julie, what I typically do is I do like a tablespoon of the vodka, the dispersant. I add the oils to it, mix it up, and then I fill with water. And you can use salt. I know a lot of people will put it in salt or magnesium even, and let it get mixed, and then add the water. April's telling on me for Everclear. I usually just mix it in the dispersant first, and then add the water. And if I don't mix it real well, then it's still going to separate and float at the top. So I try to mix it real well before I do it. This is kind of a general uses guide by Barbara, Dr. Fox. And she has it's kind of basically the same dilution that I showed you on the previous one, but it's got some ages and stuff. Now, I will tell you, on my puppies, I started putting oils on them at a day or two old, and I did a 1:10 ratio dilution. I also did CBD oil on my dogs. And my puppies, when they were 6 weeks old, they were between 9 and 10 pounds. I think the biggest one was like 11. And so I upped that obviously as they got bigger. But I've been using oils long enough, and I was putting like frankincense and stuff like that on them just to stimulate their immune, just, and especially like after I had their tails and their dew claws done, because we did standard poodles this time, so we had to do their tails. I did a lot of things I did copaiba, I did frankincense, and I also, this was a cool thing too, I used diluted, I did a 1:4 ratio, and I did 6 days, I think, of diagnose diluted on all the puppies before I took them into the vet to get, because they want to automatically just worm them. And I had called this vet, and there's like, well, we'll pull a fecal if they need to be wormed, then we'll worm them. So I thought, okay, well, this will be a great time to try this. So I diluted the diagnose. I put the diagnose on them for the week leading up to 6 days leading up to going to the vet. All their fecals came back negative. Now, I have only wormed Leola twice in her life, and we didn't pull a fecal. The vet just said, oh, well, we need to worm her. She probably needs to be wormed. My dogs eat chicken poop on the reg over here. They like to clean up the yard for me. So if anybody's going to have parasites, I would think it would be my chickens. My dogs. But I do the diagnose. Marissa says she uses Paragyze for that, which I haven't ever. Oh, that's the animal sense one. Yeah, I just don't have any of that. So I dilute the Paragyze. I've used Tummy Gyze, but all their fecals all came back negative. Candace says, oh, okay, well, that's good. So in Baldwin County, that's in Alabama. So we've got an oily vet here. But yeah, so all their fecals came back negative. Both litters that I've had in the last 2 years, the vets were amazed at their weight, their shiny coats. I don't know if y'all noticed that first picture that I put up for the puppies. Their coats are super shiny. Those pups are probably 3 days old in that picture. I can't remember if it was before or after I did the tails, but they're very young, but their coats are super shiny. And every person as talked when they got their puppy were like, oh my word, their hair's so soft and so shiny. And the pups did really well. So if you get oils and stuff out around your dogs, be a detective and look at how they act. That's where I started with this, and then I went on a rabbit trail. But if I could walk into a room with lavender behind my back with Jack, and he would run out of the room. I wouldn't even have to open the bottle. He would just smell it. And he's like, yeah, peace out, lady. He hated it. So I didn't ever put lavender on him unless I absolutely had to. Leola is not a fan of diagnose, but diluted, she doesn't mind it. She prefers the Tummy Gyze and stuff, but I've had really good results using those. Okay, I'm going to ramble if I don't stay on task. Copaiba. This is one of my favorite ones, especially for animals, but also for humans. It's an enhancer. So anything that you pair it with, it's going to complement and enhance, support, bring out other compounds that you pair it with. Dr. Albright, I believe she taught at the animal conference we were at. But also there was another vet that used to write some stuff. Is when I first learned, when we brought copaiba to our lineup, probably 6 or 7 years ago. And it is something, we had a guy, I can't remember his name. He's an ambassador, does a lot of the mobility and the yoga things. If y'all remember, you can throw it in there. But I did a pain clinic that he did. And this is way before all the requirements, what we could and couldn't say. And he talked about doing copaiba under the tongue, which is considered topical. It goes immediately into the bloodstream for mobility and to reduce pain. Hang on. Okay, I was getting feedback, but it's gone. And so he worked with a lot of geriatrics, and he found that after 30 days of doing that, an increase in their mobility and a decrease in their discomfort. And I thought, well, that's great. I thought that was interesting. So I started doing a little more research on copaiba, and I love it. It's a staple of a lot of the South American medicines and stuff, like eucalyptus is eucalyptus is the base of a lot of the medicines in the United States, and it is in Brazil and South America for their area. And so this is they say it's a recent newcomer, but I'm going to say it's probably been 6 or 7 years. But these are some great combos that you could do topical. Copaiba is one I would do right under the tongue with any of my dogs or around their gums. You can rub it on their gums. I would be completely comfortable just putting a drop of this on my cat because it is a very gentle oil. And it is got so many benefits for excessive inflammation, injury. It's calming. It's not real. I never diffuse Copaiba. I don't know if any of y'all do, but I've never diffused Copaiba. But it is, because to me, it doesn't really have much of a scent, but it is definitely a staple for ingestion and for topical use, in my opinion. I love it. So if you want to grab those, it supports these following systems, so pretty much every system: cardiovascular, immune, digestive, nervous, respiratory. Also acts as an antioxidant that helps destroy free radicals, which weaken the immune system. Okay, so now I want to go to CBD. This was the most interesting thing of all the things that I studied. So our receptors, our skin receptors, and dogs even more so, have more receptors for CBD than we do. So I thought that was pretty great. 2 years ago, when I had kind of an issue with Leola, it's scary. I thought I was going to lose her. This is one of the first things, not knowing what I was doing. I just thought maybe this would help. And I put her on the CBD, and I did the peppermint or the cool mint with her and saw some amazing results. So it got me interested in using it. I keep CBD on hand. It is cumulative. So if you've got an older dog with like a lot of issues, mobility, pain, that kind of stuff, it's something I would probably topically do regularly, morning and night. And I've got a chart in here in just a minute that'll show you some different ways to do it. But it utilizes the receptors that help the body, they coordinate communication and inside the body, whether it's the brain, the spinal cord, your nervous system, your gut, your liver. Let's see, let me see. I've got a little bit better explanation written down here. Let me see. I thought I wrote it down. Maybe I didn't. Anyway, so other words, any processes to maintain homeostasis or balance in the body. The hemp derived CBD is amazing for any of those. So if you haven't used CBD on your animals or even for yourself, I would definitely encourage you to do some research on it. So the cannabinoid is produced in high amounts by the hemp plant. Sorry, got a message. By the hemp plant, and it's not marijuana. So you see a lot of people, the hemp, the cannabis, the marijuana are all used as the same, but they're not the same. The compounds are completely different. So it's not marijuana. So a lot of people, it was funny because Marley was dating a guy for a while, and he's like, I can't believe that that you don't do XYZ, but you're okay with CBD. I said, why wouldn't I be? He goes, well, that's marijuana. I said, no, it's not. It's not anything like it. You need, dig in and look and see what it is, because it's completely different. We used CBD with my brother when he had cancer. We also used full spectrum. We used a little bit of both. And I think they all have their place in medicine. I'm big on plant medicines of all kinds, but especially the CBD. I sat in recently on a study with this doctor did how beneficial it is. I think CBD, even the drops, are probably more beneficial to be topical, which, like I said, remember, under the tongue is the same, considered topical by the FDA, than putting it in a capsule and taking it, because it has to go through the digestive system. So therefore you're going to have to take more when you do it that way. Let me see. So according to the US Pet Stats, and this is something for pain, 20% of cat owners buy supplements and issues for their pets for pain, and 43% of canine owners are buying supplements for pain. And so when you consider the adverse side effects, I guess, of a lot of those medications, this would be something to really consider doing. And it doesn't take very much. It doesn't take very much to see the results. So hemp derived products are reduced side effects, obviously. I just kind of talked about that. They're non-toxic, and assuming you're doing a quality one, again, they have the dogs have greater CBD receptors than we do. And then you're gonna, same thing with the oils, start slow and build up. Now, here is a kind of an example of the tiered structure of where you would start them once a day, either AM or PM, with a 0.05 milligrams per pound. With Leola, of course, I didn't follow this because I didn't know. I just started giving her a quarter of a cc once a day, and then bumped it to twice, and then went back down to once. And I saw results within 2 days, and I kept them on her for probably a couple weeks. And then she doesn't really have a need for it anymore. She's young, but she had a huge litter of puppies. She could not maintain those puppies. She was having a hard time eating. And I did this because I remembered something about helping it increase appetite, really good for increasing appetite. So that's why I started her on it. There were some other things I did in conjunction with it, but I saw big benefits from putting this, and I just put it inside, like her, pulled her lip back and just stuck it inside her gums. So this was probably something, and I think across the board, this is probably a good thing to kind of keep in mind. So there's a vet, Stephanie McGrath at Colorado State University, and she is studying the impact of CBD on dogs that are struggling or diagnosed with epilepsy. So her initial clinical trials found that 89% of the dogs in the experimental treatment group had a reduction in the number of seizures that they were having. That's huge. I mean, that's almost 90%. So you're seeing a lot of dogs who are struggling with the toxicity and stuff, and epilepsy is a big concern. That is definitely something I would consider. I think CBD is great, just for when you look at things that people are giving kids for, just hyperactivity or focus and things like that. There's a lot of research, PubMed, Google Scholar, on all the benefits they're seeing in the humans as well. So at the thing going through all this, and I went through some of it kind of fast. I was trying to stay under an hour. Our immune system is on call 24/7 all the time. And so its prevention is what we want to look at. Our immune system is our nonstop housekeeper. It's always working. And so if we're not supporting our immune system, we're not trying to eliminate the toxins that we can control, then we're actually, making it harder for us to maintain our health, and also our dogs. And so that's it, really. That was my closing. I thought, I had two more, but I don't. I only have one more. These are the resources that I used. Obviously, the Animals Essential Oil Desk Reference, and then a list. I actually have like 4 more books, but I kind of was getting over. I could have gone on for this for hours. I think everybody I saw came in here, y'all are already members with Young Living and stuff. If you are not, then get with whoever invited you to this class. Obviously, any of us are willing to help you, but I always want to, bloom when you're planted, go with the people. There are so many things that you can do out of our starter kits, the CBD starter kits, anything for yourself and your animals. So I want to encourage you, if you haven't done it, they'd be definitely get with somebody and learn some more. If y'all have any questions, I'm going to stop the recording. So if we have any questions, we can hang on. We can talk freely.